podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts, Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
Welcome to How We Heard It. This is Chuck Campbell.
And I'm Wayne Bledsoe.
And we're here with episode number 6. And this week for a topic we picked soundtracks, which in the beginning is something that we casually talk about all the time, and it sort of comes up in any conversation we have about music. But when I sat down to look at soundtracks, now that we decided it was a topic, it was like, oh my God, there's so many soundtracks, so many different kinds of soundtracks, so many categories, and there are scores and compilations, and sometimes it's just an artist, sometimes they're big, huge soundtracks with lots of big names, sometimes they're just like little indie soundtracks. They can be for TV shows. So it was overwhelming at first, and I had to do what I usually do. I divided it into little digestible pieces so that I'd be able to talk about it and make sense of it and not just be trying to tackle one big, overwhelming subject. I think I got it down to something I can discuss, but you may have taken a different route about it.
Well, this is the good thing about this. We don't exactly know what we're going to, we don't know what we're going to say until we sit down.
Right.
And I prepared myself for different possibilities, and you came up with still more possibilities.
I guess I did. Yes. It sounds like we don't normally know what each other's going to say, and then sometimes we don't even know what we're going to say. So it's kind of a build your own adventure. We're coming at it in different ways, but soundtracks, they've been a big part of the music industry for a long time, since before we were born, and they've morphed over the years into different functions depending on the film industry and depending on the music industry. And even though the environment for soundtracks isn't quite what it used to be, they're still coming out. So it sounds like a good idea to kind of take a look at them. They cross all genres, and sometimes it's composers and classical music, and it can be everything else, rock, rap, you name it. So I don't know. Do you want to do it? You want me to you want to take turns here?
You start.
Okay, I'm going to start. So I told you I divided soundtracks into different pieces, and I was going to judge each type of soundtrack.
Right.
And this first one is absolutely self-indulgent and just for a little nerd like me, because one of the first things I did as a kid is I bought soundtracks to horror films.
Right.
And I would buy soundtracks to horror films that I couldn't even see yet. So I would buy soundtracks to movies I hadn't seen, because I thought it was really cool that you could buy a soundtrack without having to show an ID or anything. So I could buy this soundtrack to some R-rated movie that I couldn't go to, and I could listen to it. And sometimes I would listen to these soundtracks over and over, to where when I finally saw the movie, I felt like I was already familiar with what was going to happen.
Right.
I knew where the punches were coming in the music. So that was kind of a weird experience. And like I say, it was nerdy little Chuck buying his soundtracks. And one of the first ones I bought was for Exorcist II: The Heretic, which apparently was a terrible movie. It was a sequel to The Exorcist. Now, The Exorcist itself, it produced a hit in, Mike
Tubular
Oldfield's
Bells.
Tubular Bells by
Uh-huh.
Mike Oldfield, right? But that was even, before me, and I wasn't, But the sequel to The Exorcist, I'm like, oh, the picture looks great on it. It was Reagan, the main character, Elizabeth Blair, on the front, and listening to it. I remember taking it to school. I had it on cassette or something, and it had what I could call like a chorus of like satanic cheerleaders who were kind of singing along to this kind of synthy nylon kind of rock music. And then it also had kind of weird moany type music, and it was just really atmospheric. I had no idea what was going on, but I listened to it religiously and put myself in this little bubble like I've done before in other types of music, and just listened to it and created my own horror films without having a visual representation of it.
I can guarantee your horror film would be better than The Exorcist too. I can pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah. When I finally saw it, I'm like, oh, I was kind of disappointed that more wasn't going on. But it was a good soundtrack, and I bought all kinds of. I mentioned that I bought the soundtrack to Phantasm,
right?
Of course, for Alien, with that cold synthetic, or symphonic kind of distance and isolation and fear that movie had. even Nightmare on Elm Street. It was, oddly enough, it was really weird, and you felt like Freddy Krueger was standing over your bed. And The Shining, I know that's one of your favorite movies, horror movies at least. That one just with the big Baroque or grandiose kind of instrumentation, like when they're driving up the mountain and everything. So I took in all of those, and of course, John Carpenter's Halloween. I mean, that was like the big daddy of it all. And the beauty of that is that he made the movie, and when he, I don't know if you knew this, but when he showed it to test audiences and everything, he didn't have any music on it, and everybody was bored. Nobody liked the movie. They weren't scared or anything because it was just like this very quiet movie. So he just banged out the compositions himself. And he really only had like 2 songs, and he just kind of modified them both. And there was like the one song that I call like the vague something's wrong, something's out there music, which is like this kind of pondering, walking through a house and thinking things aren't right, and there's someone looking at you through the window. And then there was like the imminent threat music where you've got Michael Myers coming at you with the knife, and it just went back and forth between those 2 tones of songs. And it's like maybe 12 tracks, but essentially 2 songs. Right. And I still break that soundtrack every October and just kind of get in the mood for Halloween and play that. But all of that said, my favorite horror film soundtrack is from Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992. It was Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder as Mina, and Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker. Not the best actor in this movie, but everybody else made up for him. It had Sadie Frost was Lucy, and she just kind of stole the movie. That was Mina's friend that Dracula stalks in like the garden, and he's like she's like his first big victim in modern times, because it's about Dracula going to London and living in London, and he stalks Mina, and Sadie Frost plays Mina's friend, Lucy. And anyway, that soundtrack, because it's orchestrated, it's by composer. I'm going to try to say the name. It's a Hungarian name. It's Wojciech Kilar. And he also did the Ninth Gate soundtrack, which is a pretty inventive soundtrack as well. But that one, it's just it's more formal and more orchestrated, and it's got like a kind of like ethereal sort of otherworldly romanticism in it, and just kind of stalking music, and then big bombastic music as well with like chase scenes and stuff like that. And I think it just captures it great. And I even there's a scene when Dracula gets Lucy finally, and she's a wealthy gal, and she's wandering through. She's a bit of a wanton lady. There's like a lot of suitors that come to her, and she like flirts with all of them, and she's hypnotized by Dracula, and she's just wandering through this beautiful garden. And in the garden they have a papyrus, which is like this water plant that grows up, and you can make paper out of it and everything. So for whatever reason, I always try to have papyrus out in the yard every summer, and when it's like stormy and everything and I watch it, I think of this movie and I think of this soundtrack. So again, totally self-indulgent. I don't think that's the first thing anyone's going to think about when it comes to soundtracks, but it's just been like a personal niche for me. So
well, that makes me want to watch Dracula again, because I can't remember the music from Dracula.
It was a weird movie, and it was weird music. And you can even I came across a live rendition of this soundtrack on YouTube. It was like, I don't know if it was the original orchestra or what, but it was just like so well done. And it was like the movie was from 92, and it must have been 15 years after the movie came out that I found this orchestrated live rendition of it. So check it out.
Yeah. Well, I have to agree on John Carpenter. I think John Carpenter's music is more important most of the time than the characters.
Yeah.
And Halloween is like the perfect example, because Halloween is like, I probably would have been one of those audience members, because it's all about the music with Halloween.
Right. It's a very quiet, low-key movie most of the time. There's 5% of the time is screaming and running, and the rest of it is just, that something's out there business.
And he did a similar thing, even though it's not as distinctive, with The Thing.
Yeah.
It uses it a lot more sparely, but it's like, I think The Thing's his best movie.
Okay.
But part of that is, and part of what makes it the soundtrack on that works so well is you don't notice it so much.
Right.
And to me, there's two different types of scores. One is the one that presents itself like Star Wars, which I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but it's a big thing. But one of my favorite soundtracks is Gladiator, Hans Zimmer.
Right.
And it does.
Right.
But it's much more subtle than Star Wars to me. And I'm not saying anything bad about John Williams, because I think for Schindler's List he did a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
And Jaws, I mean,
He's
Jaws
done
is perfect.
4 million.
Yeah,
So
and they're all.
You're bound to like some of them.
Yeah.
But, I like also with John Carpenter. You remember Prince of Darkness?
I don't remember the soundtrack to it, but I remember the movie.
It was with Alice Cooper was one of the weird ones out. It was a strange cameo by Alice Cooper, but I love that movie too. I just like, they're kind of low budget but creepy. I don't know, but Halloween, that's just the gold standard.
The simplicity of the little 3-note ding 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 ding.
Yeah,
ding.
exactly.
It just builds
it's
and
perfect.
builds.
Yeah, the opening credits, you just see the pumpkin.
It's 3
you
notes.
You just see the pumpkin and those 3 notes. And like I say, it's just the whole soundtrack is really just 2 songs that have been reconfigured.
Yeah.
This is John Baker, by the way. He's
Hello.
our engineer.
I try not to butt in.
No, we need him to butt in because you and I drift off sometimes. He lassos us in.
Yeah, I want to bring up some different types of movies other than the horror movies, although those are great. And The Shining, the Symphony Fantastique by John knows how to pronounce the name. Berlioz. Yeah, I always thought it was Berlitz, but it's Berlioz.
Correct.
But that's all the way through which is beautiful. But American Beauty has this crazy cool percussive soundtrack. James Horner, and I think there's a classical piece that he puts in there too. But that has this great soundtrack for a movie that was really strange when it came out, story-wise and the whole thing, and it was really different. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those where I really noticed the music, but it didn't get in the way of it, which I think is great. Another one that I absolutely love is the soundtrack for Raising Arizona, which is
It's like yodeling, isn't it?
Well, it's inspired by Pete Seeger's "Goofing Off Suite." It's like, and it's perfect for that movie.
Mm-hmm. Right, it is.
And it's just
why does that make me think of Mars Attacks?
Because yodeling made
that's
the Martians
right. That's right. I'm like, why am I thinking that was what they drove down the street playing it, and their heads would explode. That was the weapon.
That movie's hilarious.
That is one of those movies, though. I mean, it's like I see it in pieces. It's hilarious, and when you watch it all together, I'm just like, I'm kind of bored.
Well, I just love the aliens. And
the aliens are
hilarious. The woman alien with the blonde wig when she comes she's got this whole this would be a good soundtrack. I just forgot all about it, but when she enters and she's just floating into the guy's room, and she's like cocking her head and I think at one point he accidentally rips part of her face off, and but she had her own thing. So.
I interviewed Tom Jones when he was right after he had appeared in that movie.
Oh,
and it was really funny, him talking about, he had a great time, blah blah blah. It's like you see the movie, it's like he's not in it very much, but it's fun.
I like what you said about music being intrusive or whatever. Because I mentioned a few weeks ago I saw The First Omen is the name of it, even though it's like the 20th Omen, but they just now did a prequel to The First Omen, and how watching it. It was really not a good movie at all, but I thought it was scarier than it was because the one good thing they did was the soundtrack. Yeah. So, I was like watching it and thinking, I feel scared, but I don't see anything to scare me. And it was because in that point it like lifted the movie and helped sort of salvage the movie in a way.
Yeah, well, it's funny with horror movies. I think the ones that are atmospheric like that, the music's really important, but the ones that feel more realistic have no music, some of them.
Right.
And those are kind of unnerving because it just feels more real.
Right.
Is that kind of like the Blair Witch Project or
something?
the
Blair Witch Project.
I know that's a polarizing movie, but that was scary to me.
Well, the thing with the Blair Witch Project to me is like, when I watched it, I didn't think it was that scary. And then later on that night, I was like, oh, I'm creeped out.
Well, you know how movies like that are. And any movie that I saw in like a packed theater was 100 times scarier. As long as if you get somebody laughing in a horror film, I just want to drag them out of the, pull them out by their hair and put them out of the theater, because some people will do that and they'll just like laugh at everything that's scary. And I know it may be a nervous response.
Yeah, it's nervous laughter most of the
But
time.
if you've got people who are nervous, I actually like being in a scary movie, like if they're a bunch of teenage girls. Because they all get they get this infectious kind of terror, and they all just start screaming all the time, and then you're nervous because you're waiting for them to start screaming. So I like that, but I don't like anybody to babble through it or laugh at it. It's like you're ruining this for everybody.
Or make smart ass comments. I get that too.
Yeah.
Well, my all-time favorite soundtrack score, my all-time favorite score, is "To Kill a Mockingbird," Elmer Bernstein.
Okay.
Because it sounds, there's a real childlike sound to it, and it only comes up when you need it.
Okay.
And you remember it, but it's not so intrusive that it's like you're just totally paying attention to the music. To me, I mean, To Kill a Mockingbird was the best adaptation of a screenplay from a novel.
Okay.
But I thought that the music that Elmer Bernstein's the same guy who came up with, the Ride the High Country that used to be the old Marlboro thing. Dun, 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 dun,
okay.
dun, 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 dun. He said all those big things.
Yeah.
But this is just absolutely so gentle and pretty, and I actually have an orchestra playing that. I found a copy of someplace where I think it's like some German orchestra played the entire soundtrack.
Okay.
But it's something that's good enough to listen to without having the movie, but it's perfect for the movie.
Yeah, I don't have any recollection of that movie. I know I read the book, but I don't think when did it come out? Was it
1960, I think.
Yeah, it was black and white.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think it came out the year I was born.
Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck is Atticus Finch, and Mary Badham was Scout. I don't remember what the boy's name was. But yeah, Mary Badham, they just put on here in Knoxville at the Tennessee, they had Richard Thomas playing Atticus Finch, and Mary Badham is actually in the movie. I think she may play Ms. Maudie or somebody. I can't remember who she played.
Richard Thomas, John Boy
Walton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, if you saw him in Ozark, man, he's got a pretty good range. He was despicable in Ozark. He was great.
I didn't even realize he was in that.
He was her dad. He's the wife's dad.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of them that are horrible in that show.
But Richard Thomas is a good actor. But anyway, as far as scores go, that's my absolute peak as far as this was the absolute perfect music for this movie, and I love it.
And we mentioned this earlier before the show, but there's a little bit of a interchangeability between the term scores and soundtracks, but we're just using both. And score is more of just the musical, backdrop of a movie, and a soundtrack might be like performers doing songs. I don't really know how to divide it. Yeah, well, and a lot of things that are scores, they're labeled soundtracks.
Well, it's source music.
Source music.
Which Kubrick, 2001, Alex North was going to compose a complete, in fact, I think he did compose a complete score for it. And Kubrick just had like the source music in there to show what he wanted to be, and then he said, I want to keep the source music.
What do you mean by source music?
I mean, it's music that's already existing,
and
they just find it. It's like, more than anything, it started in the 60s when they decided to put popular music in movies. Mm-hmm. So, movies like The Strawberry Statement, things like that use rock sound, just use rock music. And then the one of the bigger ones, Coming Home, which won Best Picture in like 77 maybe, I can't remember what year it was. But that entire soundtrack is just a constant stream of music from the 60s.
Okay.
Which is perfect for that movie.
Yeah. You've got the Chambers Brothers doing Time Has Come Today, and you have Tim Buckley doing Once I Was. And it's just constant stuff that you would have heard at that time.
Okay. That kind of overlaps with one of my categories that I'll come to here in a minute.
Well, go ahead.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I was thinking you were referring to, there are artists here in town that just make music, like music chunks that are for sale. That people use in commercials and use in whatever, and they make a living doing that.
Right.
Well, and that's,
I thought that's what you were referring to.
No, but that's a time-honored thing, too, because they've had that since the 30s. Because if you watch movies from the 30s, a lot of times you'll hear the same music. And it's because they had, source music is probably the same thing. I may be using it wrong.
Well, what sounded like what you said to me was using popular songs that are on the radio and getting the licensing for them and using them as your soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, and they did that a lot started in the 60s, and then they did it a lot in the 80s. And the thing that I think sort of killed it later in the 80s is they would start requiring everything to be from a certain record label.
Yeah. I'm coming to that, too.
Okay.
That's also something I'm coming to.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
This is actually, I'm going to stay in my little order here, which doesn't quite address that yet. But I've got what I call the dominant song soundtrack. And that's... Okay. And this is just mainstream movies, movies people have seen and all that stuff. So when you have like one song that's technically a sound on the soundtrack, but it's just like all anyone knows from the movie or whatever. Right. So that would be like, Idina Menzel's "Let It Go" from Frozen, which you heard and you heard and you heard and you heard. Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" from Titanic.
Yep.
Of course, Whitney Houston's cover of Dolly Parton's "I Will Always Love You" for The Bodyguard. That was in '92. That's still the number one selling soundtrack of all time.
Right.
And it's all because of the one song. There were other songs on that soundtrack. I don't know if anyone could remember any of them because that song was like number one forever and ever.
I know because Nick Lowe made his $1 million off Curtis Steiger's cover and "What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding."
Okay. Well, there you go. But you can go further back, like Isaac Hayes' theme from Shaft. Oh, yeah. It's like that was just such an iconic song.
"Live and Let Die."
"Live and Let Die." I was going to say James Bond movies. It's like
there's
always that one James Bond song, and it's like, oh, there are 10 other songs. I didn't know that. But "Live and Let Die." I think Billie Eilish won a Grammy for 2 years ago for one, and then she won a Grammy for the Barbie song that she had this past year. Mm-hmm. Although the Barbie soundtrack doesn't fit really because it had that great Ryan Gosling song, "I'm Just Ken," which is like this big bombastic show of machismo and everything about the Ken dolls who were really, incidental in the Barbie world, and they were like standing up for themselves.
Right.
But anyway, the Public Enemy, "Fight the Power" from Spike Lee's "Do the Right Thing" in '89. Yep. So just had soundtracks, even Elton John on "The Lion King," "Can You Feel the Love Tonight." So those are technically soundtracks, but they're like one-hit wonders from the soundtrack. They're huge, overshadowing songs.
Right.
So my favorite among these is a bit of a stretch, but I've got my reasons. But I'm going back to 1980s American Gigolo. And the reason for that was Blondie's "Call Me." Oh, yeah. Now, in 1980, Blondie was on this amazing tear of number one songs. They had "Heart of Glass," they had "Rapture," they had "Call Me," they had "Tide is High." They were like bouncing around genres and they couldn't do any wrong. And "Call Me" was like this very rock song. Well, American Gigolo was more of a sex movie. It starred Richard Gere as like a male prostitute. And oh my gosh, his name?
Giorgio Moroder.
Giorgio Moroder. I was going to say Placido Domingo. It's like, no, he definitely had nothing to do with
that. That would have been a very different song.
He had nothing to do with it.
Or Woodchuck Killer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, go back to him from Hungary. But yeah, Giorgio Moroder took this Blondie song, which is normally like a 4-minute rock song, and like turned it inside out, like pulled it apart so that it starts and ends with the Blondie song. But there's like a 4-minute stretch in this song of Debbie Harry just cooing and awing, and like the guitars kind of fade out. Yeah, and it's just like very, very come hither, sensual, just a big section. And he had done that before. He was like a disco promoter or disco producer. And
Donna Summer.
He did that with Donna Summer. Yeah, "I Feel Love."
That's
fantastic.
Had that,
yeah, and that's just like basically this stretch of where she's just sounds like she's having sex.
He just builds these waves of sequencers.
Right.
Just
right. Yeah. I love it. The Midnight Express, that's a great soundtrack because it just has that driving kind of... I know this is not Wayne's favorite kind of music or whatever.
But this is all good. These are great soundtracks. Midnight Express, I thought, was mean, American Gigolo is great too, but Midnight Express has a very memorable, cool electronic soundtrack.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It does. But I give credit to American Gigolo just because he took a song from like the top band in the country and took a rock song and made it a song that suits the movie and also brings something different to the mix to Blondie fans and to people who don't even like Blondie and everything, and just created this kind of like changing of the decades, and we're going from disco to rock, and Blondie's like riding on every, rap music and reggae music and everything that they were doing, and Heart of Glass was really kind of disco. So that one wins my dominant song soundtrack award.
This is not one I haven't thought about this, so I don't know that I have a dominant song.
Well, this is how my little brain works. The one that buys horror film soundtracks before I even see the movie,
Okay, well,
just go your pace.
Since we're sort of on that, but not quite, one of the categories that I have is when an artist writes basically a Greek chorus.
Okay, yeah, you were explain that one.
Well, that to me, the first one I ever noticed it in was Harold and Maude, where it has Cat Stevens. Basically, his songs are commentary on the movie, and he did the entire soundtrack.
Right.
And I love that. I mean, Harold and Maude is one of my very favorite movies.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I had to, because they didn't release a soundtrack album of that in the United States. They released one in Japan, which I don't know why they didn't release it here. But so you had to piece together 3 different Cat Stevens albums to get that, and like the main title, the first song on it, you couldn't get until they put out a greatest hits years and years later.
Oh wow!
So it was maddening because I loved it.
Marketing, yeah.
But that's the first one, and then one that you appreciate is of course Magnolia, which Paul Thomas Anderson was listening to Amy Mann's album Bachelor Number 2, I think the whole time that he was writing the screenplay. And I rewatched Magnolia, and it's not as good as I remembered it being. But the scene where all the actors start singing "Wise Up," is great.
Yeah.
And I think that, and that
I thought it was "Save Me," but it's "Wise Up."
Oh, maybe "Save Me." But no, it's
whoops! I just hit the mic. Sorry, I don't know what that did.
I think it's "Wise Up," but it may be "Save Me." I can't remember now.
I think you're right. I think it may be "Wise Up," and that Amy Mann just had more of a separate release with "Save Me."
Well, there's a Woody Allen movie where there is actually a Greek chorus that he cuts to that's singing about what he's gone to is doing the wrong thing. Do you remember that one?
What is that one?
I don't remember which one it was.
I mean, Something About Mary is another one where Jonathan Richman is the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
And, he eventually gets shot. I love that one. But my favorite, and this is a movie that, that I show, I've shown so many people this movie. Men tend to like it better than women for some reason. But Oh Lucky Man, obscure movie. Alan Price from The Animals. He was the keyboard player in The Animals. He is totally, a real kind of Greek chorus in this movie. And halfway through the movie, he becomes part of the movie. Malcolm McDowell is on the side of the road and gets picked up by a van, which is the musicians, which Alan Price and his band are the musicians. And Helen Mirren, as a very young kind of groupie girl, is in the van too. And Helen Mirren is really hot back then. Oh, yeah. Just saying.
I mean,
what was this again?
It's called Oh Lucky Man. It's really hard to find. I got a copy of it as soon as it came out on DVD. But it's like 2.5 hours long, over 2.5 hours long. And
okay, you've lost me.
I know. You don't like my movie.
I can't.
But this movie
is 2 parts. Can I watch it in 2 parts?
Well, this is like Malcolm McDowell came up with the idea for it, and it's kind of a Candide, where here is this innocent character who all sorts of hell befalls him, and it's a commentary on what life is like, and Alan Price is basically singing along with getting you prepped for what's going to happen or what's going on.
Okay,
and it's. I like movies like that. I mean, sometimes I've seen them done badly, but most of the time I think it's pretty great.
Right. Okay. Well, I will jump into my next little mainstream, boring category. But this is what I call the artist-dominated soundtracks. And these are soundtracks that pretty much could just be an album by an artist.
Right.
So it's not necessarily film related, or it is, but it's dominated by one artist typically. Or like in the case of A Star Is Born, both in 76 with Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson, and 2018 with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, pretty much all the songs are by them. You know, or Prince, Purple Rain. It's like, that's a Prince album. You know, it's a soundtrack
that they made a movie out of.
They made a movie out of a Prince album. You could even look at the Whitney Houston Bodyguard thing, because those were like her songs.
Yeah, or
maybe Simon and Garfunkel from The Graduate in '65. It seems like, I think that was mostly them or instrumental music.
It was all them, and then David Grusin was the guy who did the score. But yeah, they were. In fact, Mrs. Robinson wasn't finished when they made the movie, so they just used a piece of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was like, I mean, it was written for that movie, but they just used a little piece of it, and Paul Simon finished it when they made the album Bookends.
Okay. Also threw in cast album Grease from '78, which was mostly Olivia Newton-John with some John Travolta, and then it's nice to have like a little bit here and there from somebody else, but it's mainly that's what you're thinking of. And then like Beatles, you know, Yellow Summer Rain, Hard Days. Those are Beatles albums. You know, they may be soundtracks, but those are Beatles.
They
albums.
sort of were inventing the genre.
That's going way back, even before The Graduate, I guess, which was '68. But the one I came up with, or I didn't come up with this. This is one everyone knows, but it's Saturday Night Fever from 1977, and it was the Bee Gees at the peak. Bee Gees. They had. How Deep Is Your Love, Staying Alive, Night Fever, More Than a Woman. And there was that one exception. Yvonne Elliman had a song on there called If I Can't Have You. And that was number one. But the beauty of this album is, I mean, it was a huge selling album. I think it was the top selling album until Michael Jackson's Thriller. So there was like 10 years or so where it was like the top selling album. Everyone heard it. The beauty of this one, why I give it extra points, is... you were talking about source material and everything, and it's like if you're doing a movie, if we were going to do a movie about the 90s, we could just go look up what the big songs from the 90s were and just throw those together. It's like a mixtape or whatever, right? But what they did is they were highlighting a current cultural phenomenon in disco music, and they were doing a movie about it, and the music for that movie enhanced the disco culture because it pumped out all these brand new disco hits. So it was like dove into something that was happening then and then turned their subject into an even more elevated phenomenon. So I think that's kind of like an extra shot. You know, you're not just like going back and saying, oh, here are songs from then. It's like, this is stuff that would be popular now, and it turned out to just run away with it. So it really dovetailed with the success of the movie and created a bigger, longer lifespan, unfortunately for you, Wayne, but a longer lifespan for disco. And it was a big deal for the Bee Gees. So it was just such a phenomenon. I thought, compared to these others, I just thought that one had an extra kick to it.
Well, I don't think there's ever been another soundtrack that really completely fit that category the way that did.
Right.
You know, I mean, they tried to they brought back country to some extent with Urban Cowboy. You know, They kind of made that more widely acceptable. But I think some of those were new songs, but it wasn't like one artist, you know, at their peak.
Right.
Releasing stuff. You had Mickey Gilley and all these other people. I mean, the Bee Gees have been around for a long time, too. But it never felt like, I mean... that is sort of a combination of the source music kind of soundtracks with the Greek chorus. I mean, Staying Alive, I mean, that goes along with that movie perfectly with that character. So it is kind of a Greek chorus, too.
It would be like if you did a grunge movie in '91 and Nirvana did the soundtrack or something like that, you know, or Alice in Chains or something. Yeah. Or Pearl Jam. So it just, if you picked a genre that was live and happening at the moment that you're filming and putting it together and trying to time it so it doesn't look anachronistic by the time it finally comes out, and then you seed it with this music that only pumps back up what your subject is. So it just had a great, I appreciate the I guess the business success of that.
Well, you brought up the 90s, and I'm reminded of that movie Singles that has set in Seattle and like Pearl Jam are actually in the movie.
Right.
I mean, all these bands play like the coffee barista. And
right.
It captured the scene, and it didn't belittle it. It gave it a bigger audience.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the same way as Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. This was like just this breakthrough, crazy album explosion. So.
Yeah.
So that's my artist-dominated winner for that soundtrack for that category.
Well, now you're making me think of like great soundtrack albums for movies that were not great particularly.
Yeah.
There was like that Times Square tried to capture punk. I don't know if you ever saw a movie called Over the Edge. It was like, I think it may be Matt Damon's first movie. Not Matt Damon, Matt Dillon.
Okay. And
it's got a great soundtrack. It's all over the place. It's got Cheap Trick and Carlene Carter, I think, and I don't think Jimi Hendrix actually made it into the soundtrack, but he's in the movie. But sometimes you've got movies like that where the soundtrack is
it's the draw.
Yeah, the soundtrack is better than the movie.
Yeah.
And, I never watched the Gilmore Girls, but I love the Gilmore Girls TV show soundtrack.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you'd love the Gilmore Girls.
Well, I might like the Gilmore Girls too, but I mean the soundtrack is great because it's got all these great hit bands.
And there was like what was it, Ghost World, and like
Ghost World. Love Ghost World.
There were a lot of like, it's kind of a '90s thing, but indie movies or indie-ish movies with I don't know if Reality Bites was one of those, but that had indie musicians.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at it like, who just charged across America and racked up the sales.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, Saturday Night Fever is like a phenomenon that the problem I have with Saturday Night Fever, other than the fact that I went on tour with Nick Harrison and the High Score one time, and
this is going to be good.
Oh my God, we were like coming back from these gigs and trying to drive back to Columbus where they had a place to stay. And all they wanted to listen to was the Bee Gees from that era.
The Bee Gees, I don't even know how they do it, but, like for some reason they became like a weird Saturday Night Live thing with the show where they host the Bee Gees. And Justin Timberlake, when he was on again this year, and he does the Bee Gees vocal talking. I don't think it's really funny, but it's just crazy to me that this was literally, 45 years ago or more than that, and this band
is still relevant.
Yeah, it's still relevant. I think only one of them is even still alive, maybe.
Well, that was the thing. I'm touring. I'm with an Americana band.
Yeah, they're listening,
and
to
they're
the
all
Bee Gees.
listening to the Bee Gees as loud as we can listen to it. And it's like, God Almighty, this is what was killing me when I was 17 years old.
Right.
Well, but Saturday Night Live Fever, the album before that, I think it's Spoonful. And then just the Bee Gees, they were all from the Criteria Sound down in Miami, where they just changed their whole focus and went totally into disco.
Yeah,
and I think that's their best stuff.
Yeah,
I like the one. I mean, I have come to appreciate it, especially
there's some funky stuff in there.
Well, I can't remember what Spoonful, the one before that had on it, but it had a hit that sounded like, what Saturday Night Fever would become.
Well, what was it? Jive Talking? They had a
Jive
song
Talking is great.
Right before, I think that was before Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it's on there. That's what it is. That's
it's a fantastic song.
That's a good song.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah, but of course, I grew up as a kid with the Bee Gees sounding kind of folky and weird, and
well, they were trying to be, the Sgt. Pepper era Beatles for a long time, and I just didn't dig them doing that.
Well, but I don't know. I mean,
post Sgt. Pepper.
Post Sgt. Pepper, maybe.
But psychedelic.
Well, I mean,
they were less exciting than the Moody Blues, and the Moody Blues bore the crap out of me.
Oh, there was some good Moody Blues. Mike Pender just died, by the way. So,
okay, well, respect. I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. That's an exception. Sorry.
No,
Thank you for saying what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, anyway.
Well, why don't you save this?
You've made my mind go blank, Chuck.
Sorry.
I think I may be the bridge between you guys.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I can appreciate some electronic stuff, but I'm fully
there's some electronic stuff I like. I like the stuff that doesn't. I like the stuff that sounds like you can't make it with another instrument. That's what I like in electronic stuff.
That's what a synthesizer should be.
Yeah, I want it to sound like something weird.
That's the best electronic.
Yeah, not like kind of approximating
guitar,
strings or harpsichords.
Yamaha killed it with the VX10. It's their keyboard where they just had a button that said flutes, violins, and that was just like, well, this is.
I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
But well, I don't.
Well, pull yourself together.
I'm trying to pull myself together. I'm trying to. One person we haven't talked about, or one, because we've gone kind of all over the map. I meant to bring up Danny Elfman earlier because here's a guy who made great crazy ass rock and roll, and then became one of the best soundtrack composers of all time. I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is his first one, is like perfect.
It's magic.
It's so much fun.
So look inside that man's head.
Yeah, and then Edward Scissorhands, which that music is absolutely perfect for that movie, and it's so beautiful and strange. And this comes from.
Was he involved with the Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He composed that stuff too.
Because he was also one of the vocals of. I don't know if he was Lock or Barrel. There was Lock, Shock, and Barrel, and
he was one of those.
One of them was Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman. One was Catherine O'Hara, and he was the third one.
I can't remember who did the.
Who did Beetlejuice? Didn't he do Beetlejuice?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he did the Beetlejuice.
He did all
any Danny Elfman
Simpsons soundtrack for TV.
Yeah, several Batmen.
Yeah. And Randy Newman, of course, started out as a great singer-songwriter, and he's a really good soundtrack composer too.
Yeah. So are you doing? What are you doing there? Is that like?
I just totally went. You just
blanked out, and you're just kind of like ad-libbing?
You totally blanked my head out with the damn Bee Gees. So
he just wung it.
So now I'm just like bringing up people.
I know this isn't a competition, but I feel like I've won this podcast.
I think you may have.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, I want to get those names in there. I mean, I think it's really cool when musicians from other areas start doing scores, and they're great at it.
Danny Elfman was Oingo.
It was Oingo
Boingo, yeah.
With Dead Man's Party and I Like Little Girls and stuff like that, which is it's creepy. And the interesting thing, I interviewed Danny Elfman, and he said that they don't get royalties off of when the films are shown.
Really?
No, they get. I mean, if they sell a soundtrack album, you get royalties off that. But as far as the movie being shown,
nothing.
No, you just get paid.
Well, and then
for that work.
And when you think back about your comment earlier or your comment when they showed, was it The Shining without the music, and people just got bored? Halloween, and the people got bored. Yeah, that shows you the power of the music.
Yeah, exactly.
They deserve to be paid.
Yep.
Accordingly.
But the same thing with Randy Newman. We talked about it when I talked with him about it. It's like they get paid for the job. They still have their music.
Well, now what about what was it, Toy Story that Randy Newman had the single? I mean, he gets, but no royalties from the movie, but
right
just when the singles sales and album
I mean,
sales.
if you had a hit song, he would get money from that for composing. But
no matter how much money the movie makes. It doesn't matter.
It's flat fee.
Who's on the soundtrack.
Isn't that amazing?
That is.
I'm guessing Danny Elfman and Randy Newman don't have to worry about where their next meal's coming from.
No, neither one of them do. But I found that I thought that was really interesting that they don't, because I assumed that they probably did.
Yeah, I figured they were both millionaires.
Well, I'm sure they are.
They may be, but because of that.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
but that's not the case.
Well, I have another subject. So now that
you'll totally blow my mind.
Now that I've already destroyed you, I'm going to crush you again. I'm backing my tank up over you now.
All right,
grind you into paste.
But this is like what a lot of people think of soundtracks. They're very popular in the '80s, and it was the hodgepodge compilation. Okay, and this is like today. It's something like now that's what I call music. Every 4 or 5 months they'll just take whatever songs are popular and they'll throw them together. And these hodgepodge compilations, they would have just people who would never be on an album together normally, might be on the same record label, like what you were saying earlier, and maybe the record label that has a sharing deal with the movie company, because it's definitely a cross-pollination. And you've got, anyway, I think they were popularized, they're probably most popular in the 80s. Because it was, I looked and it was like, you had stuff like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and all that. You had The Big Chill in '83, where they scooped up all the '60s music.
That's a huge hit.
Yeah,
Forrest Gump.
Flashdance, 83, Footloose, 84, Dirty Dancing, 87, Top Gun, 86. It was just like hit after hit after hit by people who, really don't have anything to do with each other, but maybe they're on the same label or whatever. And they would create this cross-marketing phenomenon where a movie would just last in theaters, and they'd churn out a new single from the soundtrack every few weeks. And a lot of that's died off. Forrest Gump, that was a 94, and I think you could say Eminem did it with 8 Mile in 2002. Even though he had a lot of the songs, there were a lot of other hip-hop artists on that album. But it's not, because the way of delivering music now and the way the music industry is and the way the film industry is, it's not really as financially lucrative, obviously, as it was in the 80s, when it was just like big music industry, big movie industry teaming up and just taking over everything.
I discovered so many artists that I love because of John Hughes movies.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty in Pink soundtrack, 16 Candles soundtrack. They all had great stuff. I found Echo and the Bunnymen. The Smiths. Who else? I mean,
and I think that set the prototype for what would come later with like the indie movies and everything. But the industries were already changing so much that it didn't have that steamrolling effect that it had in the 80s.
And they couldn't gather artists from different labels together.
Right. No. It's like if you're on Epic, then it has to be all Epic.
That's what happened.
Or Atlantic or whatever. And I mean, they are still doing these types of soundtracks. Just the movie Saltburn from last November, that had a really good compilation of early 2000s, like Arcade Fire, and who else was on there? Management, Ladytron. Oh, it also brought back the song "Murder on the Dance Floor," which is kind of a mini hit, and then it like blew up again. The Killers, they were on it, and of course that Princess Superstar song that I keep bringing up. I'm going to try to bring it up every single episode.
I think you have so far.
I'm hitting, maybe at least 3 or 4 of them I've managed. But disclaimer here is, going back and looking at these, they don't hold up that well, And I was trying to think, well, what's my favorite one? It's like, now the fact when you put time in between, when they came out and now, and if you're not seeing the movie anymore, those songs don't connect. They're incongruous because they were only connecting in the moment, in the summer or whatever. But now, I don't know. I just didn't feel much excitement, and I was like, I don't even know which one would be the best. I just kind of went with Footloose because the songs from Footloose had a little higher energy and a little more positivity, and it was like Kenny Loggins, you had Bonnie Tyler, you had Shalimar, which is pretty cool.
I like Shalimar.
Denise Williams, the Let's Hear It for the Boys soundtrack. And then if you want the rock sap, it had Ann Wilson from Heart, yes, doing Almost Paradise. If you want that kind of thing, it's kind of like the Top Gun soundtrack when that came out. When the new Top Gun came out a couple of years ago, there was like an editor I worked with who was like, I think it was USA Today had done a story about ranking all the Top Gun songs, and he kept saying, well, it has to be Danger Zone. I can't. How can it be anything but Danger Zone? Blah blah blah. It's got to be. He's like all wound up because that has to be the top song from there. And I kept thinking that Berlin song, "Take My Breath Away," was like a huge hit. Yeah. But as a Berlin fan, it's like one of my least favorite Berlin songs. But it just so happened to dovetail into the ballad that people would want for the romance in the movie. I think of Berlin, and I think of Sex Ima, and I mean just like all the Metro and no more
Touch
words.
Myself.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Divinyls,
right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I always think of, and I think even Berlin themselves kind of they stopped doing the song in concerts, when they were doing. So it was more of a, I don't know, not such a great song.
Well, most of the things you're talking about, though, was a combination. You would have new songs written for the movie that had not been released before. Right. As opposed to like the ones where...
Well, not Big Chill.
Big Chill was all old stuff. That was all classic.
But so it could be a hodgepodge of old songs when you're doing a movie from old days, or it could be just whatever the new songs are. Like I say, that's what I call music. I think that's in the 90s now. They've been doing this for like 20 years. Yeah. You can still buy it at Target. Believe me, it's like one of the few CDs Target still sells, and it's just like, oh, these are all songs that have been released in the last 4 months, and that's fine if you just want to if you're a mixtape kind of person, and if so it's kind of the equivalent of a mixtape that you might make for a friend. But when you look back at songs that don't fit together thematically or sonically, and they really weren't part of the movie, I think, and this is just my feeling, is like they kind of have less oomph to them.
Well, there are cases where they just threw songs onto the soundtrack that didn't appear on the movie at all.
Exactly. Yeah, they had nothing to do with the movie. Sometimes you would get them like at end credits, and sometimes they would absolutely not even be on any credits.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow.
Because sometimes I'd get the soundtrack album and say, well, where's this song?
I don't remember this song in that movie.
They had a blank spot on the vinyl that you needed or something.
Exactly. It's like, oh, we need 12 songs. We need 12 songs.
Yeah.
So Epic, here you got to give us the songs.
We'll give you $1,000 for some young band, just something.
Yeah.
And there's bands out there, we're going to be on the Top Gun soundtrack.
We're on the Top Gun soundtrack. I was like, oh, really? Which song? It's like, well, you wouldn't remember it, but...
I can't remember. I interviewed some band that was on the Armageddon soundtrack, and I can't remember what band it was. But it was like they were like kind of a nobody knew them band, and they got on that soundtrack because they were on the right label, and they were thrilled.
Well, and going back to now that's what they call music, which is becoming much bigger point for me than I ever thought it would be today.
Especially on a soundtrack.
But they do, when they break it down for their current compilation of songs, they'll have like 16 hits, bona fide hits by recognizable names. And then they have a kind of a bubbling under sort of like 4 or 5 songs by up-and-comers, and they throw that at the end. And that's kind of a cool thing to, give people a chance to hear someone that they wouldn't hear otherwise. So, anyway. So that's my hodgepodge.
We both had
I could be talked out of Footloose. I did like Flashdance, but at the end of the day, I just went with Footloose. But I don't feel that strongly about it.
What category does The Wall fit into?
No, The Wall's that's
like a music video.
Yeah, well, it's a musical. I mean, it's actually like an opera,
I don't know, like The Who's Tommy or something like that.
I mean, it's the whole story. I mean, that's the story. So I mean, it's either a musical.
That's a viable conversation to have.
Yeah, it's viable, but that's.
Or is that? I was just asking. Is that one of your genres you're going to bring up, Chuck?
No, I'm done. I'm done.
You've already gone all over the place, Chuck.
Yeah, I've already been all over the map. I've driven from here to Washington State, but as far as Tommy goes, you had The Who's Tommy, which was just an album, and then you had the cast album from the movie that Wayne hated so much, but I thought
still hate
finally
with Elton John with the gigantic boots.
Yes, and I thought finally Tommy's mother is being sung by a woman, and Margaret was singing Tommy. So that made more sense to me.
Well, it makes sense, but it doesn't make any sense to have.
Tina Turner was the acid queen.
Tina Turner is great. Elton John's
Eric Clapton was in it. He was
Eric Clapton's being Eric Clapton.
Oliver Reed. Who
thought he was God?
He can't sing.
Jack Nicholson was in it.
He can't sing.
Jack Nicholson was in it, sounding awful. There was a song that had. It was when they go to the doctor, and Jack Nicholson and Oliver Reed and Margaret sing together.
And Margaret's the only one who has a voice.
It's like, oh my God, Anne Margaret's the best singer ever. Hearing these others that got to sing it along. There's a great segment of that movie. That's one thing that we disagree with, obviously, is like my friend growing up liked Tommy and the Who, and it just sounded weird to me because it was just the guys singing all the characters. And then when I saw it in a movie by accident, my mom took me to it. And we had no idea what we were watching, and then I put it together, and I was like, oh wow, this makes a lot more sense when, Mom is. Although it didn't make sense that I think Anne Margaret's only like 2 years older than Roger Daltrey,
something like that.
And she was playing his mom,
yeah.
But it was
fueling many fantasies, though.
Oh yeah.
And in her the red dress slid up to her hip, and then the white kind of mesh. Pantsuit type thing that she wore in the song Champagne, which wasn't even on the Tommy soundtrack.
Terrible song.
Oh, no, it's not. It's great. She's drunk, right? And her son is having all this fame and glory, and she's enjoying the riches of it, and she's so guilty because he can't enjoy it, and he doesn't even know what it's on. And she's watching the TV, and there he is. He's just won another pinball tournament, which is crazy anyway. And
you have this movie so memorized.
I know. Well, this scene, because it was such a scene, because she's watching it and she's drunk out of her mind, and she's singing about, how she's living this luxurious life, but it's not worth anything because her son's just like deaf, dumb, and dumb, deaf, dumb, and blind, riding on the back of the fan.
He got extra dumb.
Yeah, deaf, dumb, and dumber, and blind. But so she's watching it, and she's drunk, and she keeps trying to change the channel of the TV, and it won't change, or it'll change to like a commercial and come back, and commercial and come back, and
sounds like a horror movie.
It was, but there was like a chocolate commercial that she's seeing. There's a pork and beans commercial that they're showing.
Well, that's all part of the Who Sell Out
laundry.
cover.
Well, it all came together because and there was a laundry soap thing. So she grabs this giant bottle of champagne and throws it at the TV. And then all of this soap comes out at her, and she's in this like net, white mesh net, and she's like grabbing it and like pulling it all over her body and everything. And then the beans come out, and they like spin her all around the room. And
the bees,
the beans,
oh, the
beans comes out,
yeah.
And then chocolate comes out. So
it's surreal.
Like, so you got Anne Margaret soaked in chocolate and beans in this white mesh thing, rolling around on the pillows, and it's like
you can't lose.
It's so nasty.
It's like the Who never had anything to do with that. That was Ken Russell, the director,
being as excessive as possible. See, the thing here, Chuck, is in my mind, I had a better movie, just like you did with the horror soundtracks,
right?
Because I had Tommy memorized when I was in the fifth grade when it came out.
Well, who was the mom in your mind? I mean, you can't beat Anne Margaret.
Well, no, I mean, I wasn't, in my mind, I was picturing, an animation more than anything else. I wasn't picturing real people.
Okay.
And I expected something that was more confined, I guess. I mean, I like Ken Russell movies, a lot of Ken Russell movies. And, Tommy, if I had never heard the album, I might like it.
Right.
But I love the record. The movies, to me, just like it's something made out of it.
It was just such a mind bender for me to see that, because I'd never seen anything that strange.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, God, Tina Turner is the acid queen. She was like this Iron Maiden that that he gets put into, and it starts spinning around.
Oh, and the hypodermic needles stick into the Iron Maiden. It was like, I mean, the acid queen sequence is brilliant. I love the acid queen sequence, but other parts. I mean, and Keith Moon is funny. Of course, we're laughing at a child molester.
Yeah. Well, he was. He was Uncle Ernie.
Yeah. Wicked Uncle Ernie.
They lift him with Uncle Ernie.
And you said that everybody. I mean, it was only one voice, but all four different members of the Who sang on Tommy.
Right.
So Entwistle was Cousin Kevin, and I can't remember who all. Townsend sings several different things, and then of course Keith Moon does.
Who sang the mom? Was that Townsend?
He has probably the highest voice.
He has the highest voice, but I guess it is Pete Townsend who sings all her parts. I can't remember now because it doesn't make sense at all, but the way they trade back and forth.
Right.
Galtrey sings nearly everything.
Right.
But you have all the members of the Who singing something.
I don't know how I didn't have Tommy in any of my notes, but I just.
Well, we didn't. No, we haven't. I hadn't. A lot of stuff I didn't have any.
I got one other thing to bring up.
What?
Okay.
What?
If it's worth discussion.
What?
Okay.
Koyana Scotzi.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, the music makes the movie, but the visuals are amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen the other two that go with that, but Koyana Scotzi, I saw that on a huge screen with that music, and it was beautiful. Philip, have you seen that? Right? Philip Glass composed this long piece.
Well, I'm in on it.
You'd love it.
You'd love it.
Yeah.
And it's just this
various slow motion and then other sequences that are ultra fast motion.
Yeah.
So like there's really slow motion aiming. You can't tell what it's looking at, but you can see the air is just shimmering.
Right.
And you see this oval shape approach in slow motion from one side of the camera, and then it slowly turns, and it looks like this evil face.
Right.
And it approaches, and you realize it's a jet airliner coming towards you on a runway.
Oh, wow.
And the music's going.
Wow. Cool.
There's another sequence where there's a camera mounted in the escalators coming down into Central Station, Grand Central Station, and it's people coming down the escalators in fast motion. It's like shoot.
Oh, wow. But the part that I remember the most on that is weird. Is like they go to Las Vegas. I mean, there's no dialogue, there's no nothing. It's just music and visuals, and you have this group of people in Las Vegas, and they obviously said, "We're just going to shoot your picture," and they're all like trying to stay still. And it's mesmerizing watching them kind of try to stay still and kind of smile, and it's like.
And was the picture ever taken, or?
Well, it's just they're there on the movie. Weird. I mean, I don't.
It's kind of like Warhol in that they just show their face.
Yeah.
And it's moving pictures, and they think they're sitting for a photograph, I guess, but they're just kind of. Yeah. And you see their faces kind of adjusting, and
and it's really something about it just kind of touches you.
Well, and the music makes you feel things.
Yeah.
I suggest you search it out.
All right, I can do that.
It's the first time in all of this that I've suggested anything to either of you.
And I suggest both of you rewatch the Tommy movie by Ken Russell.
I have. I whenever Tommy is on Turner Classic Movies or something, I always wind up watching it.
Yeah.
But and Ken Russell you can't take your eyes off his movies just because they're so visually stunning and weird.
Right.
I just watched The Devils not too long ago, which I hadn't seen since, sometime in the 70s. I bought a bootleg copy of the uncut version, and it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'm going to pivot to our recommendations.
Okay, about time.
How we saw it part of how we heard it. And I'm going to recommend that movie Saltburn that I mentioned with the soundtrack because it came out in late 2013, late last year, I think November. Very polarizing. There's a character named Oliver, played by Gary Keegan, who seems to be this kind of underprivileged, awkward, introverted guy who gets fascinated with this wealthy guy in his class. It's in Britain. And they're like college students. And he insinuates his way into this aristocratic family. And they're all nut jobs. This whole family is a bunch of nut jobs. Incredibly privileged people. And they take him in, and they're very welcoming. And he, you get sights of their like neuroses and all of that stuff. And he's like befriending all of them. And then he kind of divides and conquers them. And the thing is, he is a psychopath. I mean, he is like, and you don't know this at first. And he is by far the most evil one of all of them. You kind of get a negative opinion of the family. And it's like, well, maybe he's inspiring them. And he just has this very, very menacing plan to just kind of control the family and just take over. And it has some very... repulsive scenes that they play in with his character. If anyone's easily offended, absolutely don't see this movie. Just spare yourself and stay at home.
You saw it at the theater, right?
Yes.
And people walked out?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody that I've talked to saw it at the theater said
there
walked
were
out.
3 specific scenes that hit people wrong in different ways. They were all 3 very different from each other, I guess. But the third one, at that point, I think the people who were left were like, what the hell? Let's just keep watching it. Let's just see if we can make it to the end. This is like crazy.
Can't get any worse.
It can't get any worse. But it's very inventive. It's a dark comedy. It's not really. I mean, it's dramatic, and some people were disappointed by the ending. But it's an adventurous movie.
I love the ending.
And
I love the ending. Go
okay, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the ending was. I thought it was great too, but some people didn't like where it went. But inventive, creative, dark, funny. I mean, it is funny as shocking and upsetting as parts of it were. It had like kind of a real comic undertone.
Yeah.
So I recommend that.
I concur. I think it was. I really liked it a lot.
Okay.
I laughed at the parts that were supposed to gross people out, even though you're just kind of going, "Oh my God, I can't believe that happened." But
well, and I think it's funny when people compare what they think was the grossest part. I think it depends on your perspective as to what part was the grossest to you.
Yeah. Well, the final kind of gross thing in it, is that's open for interpretation on what that meant,
right?
And I think that's one of the good things about it is when my girlfriend and I saw it together, we were like, well, now exactly what does that...
Why did that happen?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And we talked about it for days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we did too.
It's a mark of an effective movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you keep thinking about it.
And it's got a good soundtrack with Princess Superstar.
Nice.
You can't go wrong with it.
You got a twofer in episode 6.
Yeah,
Princess Superstar's check is going to be coming to you after.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, I'm going to recommend something totally different. I'm going to recommend a movie from 2006 called The Lives of Others.
The Lives of Others.
It's a German movie. And it has the absolute opposite effect of Saltburn. This is a movie that's based on a true story of a playwright in East Germany who is under surveillance by the intelligence. I can't remember what it's not the Stasi. I can't remember what the East German intelligence agency was, and the agent who is surveilling him starts to protect him.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And it is a movie that you will get to. It's very interesting. I mean, you get caught up in the life of the playwright and the loyalties of the intelligence officer. Mm-hmm. And he's a man of very strict principles, and his eyes kind of get opened as this movie goes on.
Cool.
And
you say it's a German movie?
It's a German movie, and the playwright doesn't realize that this man is protecting him.
Right. Does he realize the man's even watching him?
No.
Okay.
And that's the thing that's so. And it's sort of, I thought about it when I was thinking about, because I thought about To Kill a Mockingbird, and Boo Radley, which you don't realize until the end of the movie or the end of the book or the movie, whichever. The book's great too, is protecting these kids.
Spoiler alert.
Well, no, it's Kill a Mockingbird. If you've never seen it, I mean, give me a break. But I mean, that's part of this is it makes you feel good about humanity,
right,
which is a rare thing right now.
Yeah.
Because here's a case where someone was in a position, and he has every reason to
just follow his orders.
But there's kind of a nefarious reason that he comes under surveillance, but he's doing things obviously that they could put him in jail for probably. Mm-hmm. But this man was protecting him.
What was the time of the setting?
This is right before the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Okay. Does Whitney Houston sing a song?
No, there's I don't even think I don't remember the music in this, but it's a very effective movie, and if you need something where in the end you feel good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I need that often.
Yeah, and it's just really well done, and the people not a lot of people saw it, and everybody, when I posted the thing on Facebook one time about favorite movies, and I put that up, I had all sorts of people say, I remember that movie was so good, and blah 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 blah. It just went on and on.
How do you see it?
Yeah, can you see it?
Where do you go to see it?
Where do you go to see
it? Gosh,
is it on streaming?
It's
somewhere.
You can rent it. The last time I showed it to Sarah, my girlfriend, we rented it, I think, on Amazon Prime. It's out there. Okay. It may be on the Criterion Network too, the Criterion Channel.
For whatever reason, that made me think of Run Lola Run,
which is being re-released.
Oh, is it?
It's being re-released in the studios.
Great song, great music. It's just the story of a young woman who. Her boyfriend is like a drug dealer, and he gets in trouble and he owes money, and they're going to kill him if she doesn't come up with this ton of money. And she's just running through the streets of Berlin trying to find ways to make money and get money. And she goes to a casino. She's just like losing her mind, and it's this very, very kinetic movie, and I like that. But so that's Run Lola Run.
Right.
But I'm going to recommend a soundtrack. So in exploring soundtracks, I came across one that I remembered loving, and I hadn't listened to it in years. And I listened to it, and it's from a thing called Thinking XXX. All right, and I had no idea. It took me a while to even pin that down, but I listened to the soundtrack. It's like, oh my God, this was great. This was great. It came out in 2004, and it captures electronic music from 20 years ago. It's a really great snapshot. It's very vibrant with the music and everything. It has Peaches on it, Jake Shears, Goldfrapp, Lady Tron. But the movie, it's a documentary that HBO showed, and it's about a photographer who interviews 30 porn stars. And they're like nude, and or sometimes they're in clothes, but they're nude or in clothes. And it's all about this book he's making, compiling 30 different porn stars into this book he did. And I kept trying to think, it's like, did I see this movie? Or because I thought I may have seen the trailer, and I feel like I saw part of it. And I don't know what it says about me that I remember a soundtrack from 20 years ago, but I don't remember a movie with 30 naked porn stars posing for a book. But the soundtrack's awesome. The movie I can't recommend because I don't really remember it. But it's called Thinking XXX.
Thinking XXX. Interesting.
2004 electronic movie.
I thought it might be about really large clothes.
Well, some of them needed really large clothes.
Well, there's a style for everybody.
And they didn't necessarily have large clothes.
Or any clothes.
Or any clothes, yeah. So I couldn't get it, but the music was great.
All right, well, my recommendation for music this week is a fellow named Zach Miles. That's Z-A-C-K, and then Miles is M-I-L-E-S. And Zach he's a very good singer-songwriter. But one of the things that I like so much about Zach's music is he is a really, really different acoustic guitar player. Mm-hmm. He has a style, it's a finger style, and his songs are just beautiful and intricate. I saw him in a house concert last Saturday, and he's really becoming maybe my favorite acoustic guitar player that's alive right now. And he's around here. He's from Oakdale, Tennessee, I think.
Okay.
And great artist, great songs. Got a bunch of albums. I was trying to look for the name of his new album, but I can't find it.
You're not fast enough on the phone.
Well, my phone's not doing its thing. But anyway, he's somebody to check out if you like trying to think what he would be a cross of. Maybe
he's got some Nick Drake to him.
Yeah, some Nick Drake, and maybe if you mix Nick Drake and Iron and Wine.
Yeah, I can see that.
And
but the finger picking is really special.
Yeah, he is a really special guitar player and a good composer, good performer. And he doesn't tour a whole lot. He plays a lot around here.
Okay.
But you can find him online. He's on Spotify and Bandcamp and all those places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we've been babbling kind of over.
I got one quick recommendation.
Okay, yeah.
Just saw the Linda Lindas in concert. Okay. Check out the Linda Lindas. They're teenage girls. There's two sisters. The drummer's 13. The oldest person in the band's 19. They rock. It's like Ramones, punk rock. And their energy is amazing. And I just found out they're getting ready to open up for the Rolling Stones. So go check them out.
Wow. I feel like I've heard of them.
You have.
See a picture.
When you see them, you're going to go, oh, yeah, I remember these girls.
Yeah.
It triggers something special.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. That's cool. Are we done? We got something.
I think we're done. You know, the Bee Gees are in my head now. I can't get them out.
Cool. Well, I can send you a. Okay, I won't send you my Princess Fever.
That or Fever. I mean, I liked Fever Ray, but this Princess.
Right. Well, I'll find you something else. Don't worry. Well, thanks everybody for coming around, and we will come back at you next time.
Yep.
Thanks.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, art, culture, movies, whatever they want to talk about. How We Heard It was recorded in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Arbor Studio by John Baker. If you believe you've been abducted by aliens during the listening to this podcast, we take no responsibility for that. How We Heard It is a Tear Owl production, and if you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. Come on back next week and we'll have another show for you.